Hello, and welcome to our Hawk Search by Bridgeline presentation here for the SMX crowd for the top 5 secrets your search bar is hiding. I'm going to be your presentation host today, Jonathan Meyer. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring me on camera here so you can see that I am a real person. I'm right over there and I'm right here. I'm going to be walking you through this presentation today covering the top 5 secrets that your search bar is hiding. I'm Jonathan Meyer. I'm a senior solutions engineer for the Hawk Search by Bridgeline team. I've been in this role for 8 years and I've been working in the site search e-commerce content space for almost a decade now. So I have lots of experience in this area, and looking forward to sharing some of that knowledge with you guys today, and kind of what the search bar can help you guys answer and help you understand about your visitors and how it can help uh, as part of that funnel and bringing people through the site search experience coming from Google into your site search and getting them to that conversion process, and how can we help in that, because it is an important key part of that process. So with that in mind, what we want to talk about is one of the key things here. Your search bar is hiding secrets in plain sight. There's a lot that your search bar can really tell you, and it's something that is very commonly overlooked. It's something that people recognize as important, but don't necessarily take the time to really act upon that importance. So, one of the main goals, or several of the main goals today from this session, we want to make sure that you're able to break down your site into the key elements that are going to help you drive conversion. We want to help you able to direct traffic to exactly the right product for your purchases, and of course, identify new opportunities to raise the value of every order. There's a lot that we can help cover around this, and there's really kind of going to be several topics that we focus in on to help frame this out and give you some good actionable information in terms of how that site search bar can help you. So we want to start here. We know as part of the SMX conversation here that you guys are talking a lot about the offsite search experience, kind of getting people to your site through traffic using those SEO functionalities, off-page SEO, your PPC, your backlinks, doing on-page SEO. So talking about, core web vitals and things like that. And of course, having the content on your site so that Google's able to crawl that, understand that you have relevant content on it that your visitors might be looking for. It really is a key part of getting people to the site. And of course, this is very important. And we understand that. And we recognize that this is a large part of the conversation that you're going to be hearing throughout this conference. What we really wanted to focus on, though, is kind of the next step down there. And the problem there, and this is one of the reasons why, is that as part of that offsite search, when you have that good site search strategy, or I'm sorry, traffic strategy there to get people to your site, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be turned into conversions or that they're going to become long-term customers of your site, because there are problems that can happen when they get to that site: low engagement, low conversion, lost revenue. There's things that lead to people, once they've gone through the Google experience, they land on your site, they found the right product they're looking for, and or maybe they then go through next time they're coming back to purchase another product, and they come back to your site because they had such a good experience the first time, and now they can't find what they're looking for because the site search experience is poor. Or maybe they've gotten to your site through Google and landed on a product, but it's not exactly what they're looking for, and so they're going to go up to that search box and look for something new, look for something a little bit different than what they landed on. Again, if that site search experience is poor, you're going to lose that visitor. Even just in terms of landing on that product detail page, there are things that can help with that conversion that are part of that site search experience, adding recommendations to those experiences, making sure that the visitor is able to really kind of take advantage of the full experience. So we really want to focus on that. As you know, your search bar is your secret weapon. It's driving the next kind of cogs down in that experience. If traffic is what's driving visitors to your site, well, then the next steps are leading to those conversions and increasing that average order value. So we really want to focus in on those kind of areas here, those next two cogs in that process, kind of a little bit further down the funnel. And to that end, there's really kind of 4 things that we want to highlight here. These are going to be kind of the initial 4 things that we want to focus on from the site search perspective that we think will help kind of get your head around how can you help improve the experience of the site search. When someone has landed on your site and they're now on your site, what can you do to make sure that you're meeting their needs? And what we have found is that there are really 4 different kinds of user segments, user intents when someone lands on your site. There's the informational, there's someone who's searching, there's your navigational visitors, and then, of course, transactional. We really want to kind of get people towards that transactional state, whatever that might be. And so the first 3, the informational, searching, and navigational, the goal is to always get them to convert then into a transactional. So we're going to break these down individually, talk about what each one's needs are, what they're looking to get out of the site search experience, the tools that can be used to help improve their functionality and really kind of give you some better insights into what might be accomplished with those individual visitors. So let's start at the top here. Let's start with informational. So, informational, who is this user? This is a user who is on the hunt. Are really kind of gathering resources around what they're looking to purchase. They might not know what they're ready to purchase yet, and so they're doing research. They're getting information around the products. They're going to be, doing keyword searches for, coming to your site from a Google search of, what's the best television, top washers and dryers, uh, you know, uh, best rated, women's jackets, those kinds of things. They're going to get to your site using those kind of searches from Google. And when they're on their site, you want to make sure that you have the right tools and you're presenting the right information in front of them. So you want to try and get as much of that information in front of them and understanding that this is a kind of visitor who can be coming to your site. These are the kind of things that you really want to focus on. They're going to be looking for reading reviews. They're going to be looking for comparisons of products, exploring user uploaded photos and products in the real world. So really kind of getting an idea of, I'm doing this research for this product. What does it actually look like? We've got this nice kind of stock photo of it, but if you have the option to present user photos, these are things that can really help kind of um, improve your authority in the space because this is really what the informational user is looking for. It's not just uh, what am I looking to buy, but they're also in the background, almost subconsciously looking for where am I going to buy this. And of course, there's other factors that play into that. Of course, price and availability, and so on and so forth. But by having a site that presents itself as an authority in this space, that you're presenting the information that this visitor is looking for to make that informed transactional purchase, you can become the resource that they're going to then go to time and time again. This is a way that you can, again, improve that customer trust by having those resources available, by delivering on what the informational visitor is looking for. You can really kind of build that trust, make them come to your site again and again by having those features met. And really, you just want to make it as easy as possible. You want to have, if what part of the problem is, of course, always having those resources. But once you have them available, the other problem is making it something that is easy to discover, that it's easy to find those user reviews, that it's easy to find those product comparisons, that it's easy to find the other products that are available in this category. So, what are the tools that can be used to help in this user? Excuse me. There are really a number of different things that can be spoken about. But when we're thinking about this from a kind of site search on site kind of experience, there are several ones that we want to highlight. The first is going to be, of course, having good recommendations, making sure that when you're looking at a product, you might want to suggest accessories for that. You might want to suggest similar products for that. This is a good way to let a visitor know, an informational visitor know what are things that are related to this? If I'm looking at this television, what are televisions that are going to be in a similar category for this or that have similar features and specifications for that? Comparison functionality, of course, as I mentioned, is going to be a huge thing. Being able to select several different products and say, okay, now give me a side by side comparison of what's different between these, two or three or four products. And then, of course, leveraging reviews. You want to make sure that if you have that information, that it's something that a visitor can then filter against by also being able to then say I want to show me all the 5-star television reviews, show me all the 4-star television reviews, using that information to give them the information that this informational visitor is looking for. So let's move on to the next kind of site search user intent that we see here. We have the searching visitor. Now, this visitor knows exactly what they're looking for. The way that we internally refer to this is, they're a spearfisher. They are coming to the site. They know exactly what they're looking for. They're going to hit that search box. They're going to type in exactly what they're looking for. The women's large yellow jacket. A 2-ounce amber glass jar. Really being very specific what they're looking for. They're not going to be browsing around the site. They're, really just kind of looking to make sure that they're getting directly to what they're looking for, and you want to make that process as smooth as possible. Now, of course, when we think about this from a site search perspective, the thing to think about here is that it's going to be something that, these are the people who are going directly to that site search bar. If they know what they're looking for, the example is going right to the search box, putting in those search terms, and getting them to that product. So the opportunity here is to really kind of focus on streamlining that process, making it so that when someone's typing in those searches, that you're being very clear about what's going to be presented, that you have that good relevancy, You want to make sure that they are getting them to the checkout process as quickly as possible in that experience as well. And of course, when we start thinking about this, the other thing that usually comes up is, well, they're trying to get through that process as quickly as possible. Well, you can still leverage that opportunity to say, we want to show them complementary products. You can increase that authority again, that you are the respected voice in this space by being able to suggest complementary products. And if I'm buying a bike, I might be looking for the handlebar grips, or the tire pump that would go along with it. These are the things that can help me say, oh, you're kind of becoming the one stop shop here by leveraging that functionality. So making suggestions for complementary products, and of course offering loyalty programs can again encourage that visitor to come back to your site and really make the best out of their time here as a spearfisher, knowing exactly what they're looking for. So when we think about this from the perspective of what tools can assist this user, it really is covering a lot of what we just talked about here. And this is probably one of the more self-explanatory user intents that you can think about, because it's going to be things like relevant results. You can see here that we have an example of searching for yellow handbags under $25, and the relevant results are returning those. We see our yellow handbags clearly under $25. This is one of the core things that I think sometimes get lost when you start thinking about visitors using your site search. Is everything, we want to make sure that we're getting the right results, but it really is very important to make sure that you are checking those boxes, that you're able to leverage those spear fishers, those people who have very detailed long tail keyword searches that they're providing, that you're able to drive those relevant results on site, so that if I used Google, got to your site from another keyword search, I'm on that product detail page, and this maybe is not exactly what I'm looking for, I can jump up to that search box. I can be that spearfisher. I can type in those long tail multi attribute keywords and find exactly what I'm looking for. The other thing that you want to make sure that you're providing here is that when someone's then navigating through that experience, if I've done that keyword search, that you're also providing intuitive categories. That you want to make sure that you're making suggestions for along with the facets and filters. They're making sure that this is something that a visitor can very clearly find the attributes they might be looking for. Maybe I did a long tail keyword search, and let's just say worst case scenario, some of those attributes didn't carry over into the relevancy there. You want to make sure that you have the facets and filters that a visitor can very quickly then make those selections and filter within those results to get directly towards what they're looking for. The autocomplete is actually one of those other areas here. You can see on the right hand side of the screen there, the suggestions. This comes by several names: the autocomplete, the type ahead, the suggested search. It has several different kind of names that it gets called. In our world here, we commonly refer to it as an autocomplete. But this is actually something that is very critical, and kind of you'll notice this comes mentioned several times as we move through these different user intents. But this is super critical because, especially for a spearfisher, for someone who has got that search intent, having a good autocomplete can speed up that process and get them to that checkout process even quicker. Because having a relevant autocomplete as I'm typing in that term for a yellow handbag, or in this case here, we're typing in things for struts and straps and so on, this is going to let the visitor know, A, that you carry those products, B, what those products are, and C, by having the top product matches you're seeing there pulled back in those relevant results, a visitor doesn't even need to do that search then. They can select that product directly from that autocomplete, get all that much closer to that checkout process by having that good autocomplete there. And really making sure that it's, kind of helping guide that visitor when they know what they're looking for. It can speed up that process. And if I was looking for a strut strap, starting to type that in and seeing that selected there, I don't even need to finish typing. I can select that, or if the right product's being returned, I can make that selection there as well. Very critical to helping drive those spear fishers and getting them towards the right results and really meeting what their needs are. So now the third type of user intent that we see on a site search experience is navigational. And this is kind of the opposite of the spear fisher. This is someone who kind of knows what they're looking for, but they're really not sure. The informational visitor is kind of, I know what I'm looking for. I'm gathering all the resources to make the most informed decision. The searcher is someone who knows specifically what they're looking for, and they're going to type exactly what they're looking for, and knows what they're looking for. The navigational is kind of that middle ground there. They know what they're looking for, but not really the specifics around it. They don't even necessarily know what kind of informational resources they might be looking for. They're really kind of going to be interacting with your site in a very different way. And the way that we primarily see this being used is navigational choices. So you want to make sure that you have the guidance to make sure that you're able to guide them towards what they're looking for. Again, they know they might know the category of what they're looking for, but they need help narrowing down those options. Again, to go back to that example of a television, I might know that I need a new television, but I'm not sure of what all the new features are that are available. Of what what does HDR mean, and is 4K really better than what I currently have, and all those other kind of technological terms that get thrown around. You want to make sure from a navigational visitor that you're able to guide them through that process and get them to the specifics of what they're looking for. So let's talk a little bit more about what those visitors are. And for the navigational visitor, it's really going to be, let's again break this down. They're casually browsing. They're using your category pages. They're not really going to be interacting with the search box. This is someone who will go into that top level navigation, see all the different categories of products, all the subcategories. You want to have a good category hierarchy to make sure that you're presenting those options intelligently to the visitor, and that it follows a natural kind of order and progression of, if I was looking for a television, you wouldn't want to bury that high level category under home electronics and then by brand name, and then you want to make sure that you're presenting those kind of categories in a good order. Really, the opportunities for you here are you can be, and we kind of mentioned several times this idea of being the authority, of being the resource that your visitors will turn to again and again. It's really going to be one of those things that we have seen in this space. Again, I've been doing this for almost a decade, and this has become kind of the trend that we've seen is that in such a highly competitive space, there's always so many other people that are doing or in the same kind of market that you are. One of the ways that you can really differentiate yourself is by meeting these user needs, by meeting the needs of the informational, the searcher, the navigational, because everyone's going to be handling that transactional part. We'll talk about that next, of course. But if you can meet the user intents of these three different kinds of visitors, you can really kind of become the authority in your space. The one that, oh yeah, maybe I could go to Amazon and get it for a few bucks less, or maybe I could go to this other person, but I know that you're going to have the resources. You have a really easy to use site. You're going to present all of the relevant information for me. If I don't know what I'm looking for as a navigational visitor, you're going to be able to guide me through that process very clearly and very easily. It can be a very big opportunity for you to become that authority. And again, some other things to think about. You want to make sure that facets, filters, variations, everything's easy to navigate. Just to kind of reiterate on that. Curating options, spark ideas and inspiration. Again, really think about if how do you, when you don't know what you're looking for, how do you browse a site? How do you look for something? Look at your site from that perspective to understand, are we meeting these needs for those visitors? But what can you do to help improve that experience? What tools do assist that user? And so, again, as we've kind of been talking through these first few slides here, you're already kind of getting the idea here. It's going to be things like we want to have good category pages. We want to make sure that if someone's navigating through that when they land on that television's category page, that they not only were they able to get to that point very easily, but once they're there, what are they seeing? We want to make sure that we have good facets and filters within that experience, that they're going to be able to see that, what televisions have HDR, which televisions have 4K, what, capacity is this washer and dryer, what sizing of this clothing is available, colors are available. You want to make sure that you're presenting that information front and center so the visitor knows, okay, here's all the products and here are the values that are important to those products. In addition, the navigational visitor is really open to those kind of suggestions. So using things like recommendations, customers also bought similar products to what I might be viewing. These are really good use cases for being able to kind of, not only give the navigational visitor the information to make an informed decision, but being able to guide them towards what you would like them to purchase. The items that have a higher margin for you, the items that you have in stock versus out of stock. This is a really good example of being able to take advantage of the kind of state that this visitor is in, this user is in, and leverage it to your advantage to make sure that you're getting that kind of higher increase in your AOV by presenting these kinds of informations. And when we think about this from a navigational visitor, really one of the things that is applicable to all of these different users, but is really applicable to navigational visitors, is leveraging machine learning and automation. When we think about things from like a category page, this is usually not something you're kind of top of mind thinking of. Oh, I need to really merchandise within that. So leveraging things like machine learning that can improve your results automatically, learning from what your visitors are commonly selecting, what they're commonly interacting with on these category pages, and being able to present those back much more quickly can be a huge boon for your navigational visitors, because not only are they going to land on a category page that has the right set of products and has the fastest and filters and is making recommendations for other similar products, but the presentation of those products is going to be influenced by what are other customers actually purchasing. So the product that'll be the very first result on that category page is the one that your visitors are commonly selecting and interacting with and purchasing. Very beneficial to these users. And so we're going to then end on the navigational. I'm sorry, the transactional. What are this is kind of the end goal of all of these, and you can get to visitors who are specifically going to that transactional. Again, coming from the offsite of Google into a product detail page, going right into that transactional user type. This is, of course, an important kind of user intent that you do want to support. But when we think about the previous three user intents that we just discussed, this is the end goal. You want to get that informational visitor to become a transactional visitor. You want to get that searcher who knows exactly what they're looking for into a transactional state of mind. And for the navigational, if you do a good experience there and get them kind of to that guided experience to what they're looking for, they can again become a transactional. So think about this as kind of the end state of all of these user intents. So when we think about that, though, of course, the brand opportunity for you as a business is you can increase those average order values by sending up cross sells, upsells, suggesting complementary products and accessories. You can engage the visitor by providing loyalty programs, and again, making it easy for them to come back by setting up reorder pads or offering personalized items to them. Really, that transactional is a great time to leverage recommendations. It's if there's anything that you take away from the transactional brand opportunity, is going to be leveraging recommendations to really kind of eke out that last little bit there of doing those cross sells, upsells, leveraging the personalization. And personalization is a great way to interrupt this, and not in a bad way, but interrupt that transactional. Say, oh, hey, I was looking for this as well, by leveraging that information that you might have gotten from previous visits and previous searches and navigational user intents to leverage that information and re-engage them with that as part of that recommendations. So, of course, the tools that we can use to help assist this user are going to be things like recommendations, and specifically those, add these items to your cart, commonly bought together, bestsellers, really those things that can help improve the checkout process of, again, I'm buying that bike. Here's the tire pump that goes with that bike. That makes a lot of sense. Here's the lock that goes along with it. These things can help, again, improve your authority. Really easy ways to help increase that average order value and really kind of just makes the visitor to your site very happy along that process. Again, leveraging things like loyalty messaging for repeat customers, making it very easy for customers to reorder, especially when we start thinking outside of just the B2C space, but in the B2B space, which again, we're seeing that kind of growth and that maturity in this space. Reordering, being able to, even if you think about this from a number of different industries, being able to reorder very easily is another key thing that you can add to this transactional user to make this something that is very easy for them to do. But once you've kind of gotten all of these user intents kind of squared away in your head in terms of who they are, what they're looking for, how are they going to be interacting with the site, well, how do you know that you're really meeting these needs? And that's where we want to talk about the reporting analytics. This is one of the kind of the hiddens of the search box. Your search box can tell you a lot about your visitors. Be able to meet those different user intents is going to be very key to making sure that you're kind of powering good success on the site. But how do you know that you're meeting those goals? The reporting and analytics. They can tell you if you're meeting the needs of these different user segments and guide you on how to improve them. Really can give you different strategies as well to say, let's try this out versus the other strategy. Gives you opportunities to clean your data. Universally throughout the industry here, if you have bad data, you're going to get bad data out. So being able to use reporting analytics to understand where those data gaps are can really help you give you different opportunities to provide a better experience for those different user intents. And of course, regularly checking the reporting. This is I mentioned at the top of the call. I think a lot of people recognize the importance of an on-site search program, but don't have the time and the resources to really dedicate towards it. If there's anything that you can take away from this, regularly looking at the reporting and understanding what's happening with your site search and really kind of keeping in mind those different user intents can be the biggest thing that you can take away from this. So let's talk about the different reports and analytics that you might be wanting to look at. Specific reports to review. There's a common phrase that's been kind of been thrown around a lot, and at the risk of it becoming a cliche, data is the new oil, is what we have been commonly told lately, and what we really believe as well. And so, from a perspective of different reports to look at, we want to understand, well, what's the best oil that you can be looking at? What's the oil that's going to get you the most bang for your buck here? And so, those are going to be things, just to start at the top. What are the top 250 search keywords? Looking at a report like that can give you clear insight into what visitors are actually doing on your site. What are they looking for? You might be in an industry that carries a very wide catalog, and you might think that visitors are really coming looking for your washers and dryers, but no, they're looking for that small section of clothing that you offer. You might not know that if you're not paying attention to something like your top 250 search keywords. And kind of building off of that, the facets and filters. We mentioned several times how important providing good facets and filters to basically all of the user intents are, with different kind of goals in mind in terms of what they're looking for out of them. But by you looking at a report like this that can help you identify, well, what facets and filters are your visitors actually interacting with, can tell you, are you meeting those needs? Are visitors selecting and interacting with the facets and filters that you would anticipate? Or are they selecting different options where you know that maybe there's some data issues that you need to improve upon? Are they interacting with color, and we're seeing lots of issues with the various colors that visitors are selecting because the color values aren't consistent or aren't uniform, and so we're having issues there. A report like this can help you identify those use cases and can guide you towards actionable items that you can take back to improve the experience for those different user intents. And then there's two other reports that I want to highlight here as well: searches with poor results and searches without clicks. These are two reports that you should definitely have available, and if you do, you should be taking close looks at them. Searches with poor results is kind of your classic idea of a search with zero results. But the expectation nowadays should be not just times when visitors have done a search and got back in zero results, which is still important. You still want to identify and understand those use cases where someone came to your site, did a search for something, and got back in nothing. That can highlight use cases where maybe there's a synonym that needs to be set up. Maybe you don't carry that product line; it's a different brand name. So there can be different use cases to solve for that. So you still want to understand when visitors are doing searches and getting back in zero results. But we really have leaned more towards this idea of poor results, because this can highlight use cases where someone did a keyword search and they got back in one or two or three or four products, but they weren't the right products. And I'm sure you can probably all speak to this in your own personal experience where you've been on a site, you've done a keyword search, and it hit off something. You got maybe, a keyword match in like the long description, but it wasn't at all what you were looking for. A search with poor results report like this can help highlight those use cases where those times where visitors have done a search and they got back in a few things. This can indicate to you where there might be those gaps in your data, where again clients might be looking for information that are in products that you don't carry, that maybe you need to get into that product line or expand into, cleaning up your data to make sure that those results are coming back in. And on the flip side of that, we have searches without clicks. This is kind of the other end of that experience of, well, if you're talking about searches where visitors got back in zero or only a handful of results, that's important. But on the other end, what are those searches where visitors got back in, hundreds of results and then didn't do anything with them? That's a search without a click. Someone did a search, got back in results, and said, "Yeah, no, I'm good. Nothing here that I'm looking for," and left the site. Didn't interact any further with the experience. These are good actionable use cases where you can look at those terms and help understand, are we meeting those user needs? Are we providing the information that an informational visitor might be looking for? Are we making sure that those search without clicks, are we seeing those long tail keyword, very specific, those spearfisher searching user intents that we might want to identify? Or are we seeing things coming through where someone's gotten to that point and they're not interacting from that transactional point of view? So you can really kind of use these different reports to understand what the user intents are and help meet their needs. And of course, you want to look at things like your redirect tracking. So if someone came to your site and did a search for televisions, are you taking advantage of that and directing them towards that television category page? Because again, it's a really broad search on a site search perspective. You don't want to just necessarily pull back in search results. Leverage your site searches tool where you can redirect to take them to that category page. Again, meeting the need then of a guided navigational visitor or an informational visitor to take advantage of that. And of course, you want to understand spelling suggestions and conversion tracking. Spelling suggestions will just give you those use cases where maybe there's clean data that we need to address. Maybe there's, misspellings that were happening. Visitors are spelling brand names wrong or things like that. Understanding that can really just kind of help provide a clean user experience for the searchers who are being very specific. And of course, conversion tracking just gives you that big picture. Is any of this working? Are we meeting those kind of goals? What are the keyword searches that we're seeing happen that are best leading towards those conversions? You got something like your top 250 search keywords, your searches with poor results, your searches without clicks. Those are all good to look at, but those aren't going to tell you then, are your visitors actually converting off of them? Looking at a conversion tracking summary can really kind of just make sure that you're meeting those goals and highlighting those use cases. Really want to help you. Thank you guys for taking the time to join us today. This has been a really great presentation from my end here. I loved taking the time out to talk to you about search and its importance. Hopefully, we've given you some good, actionable information in terms of what you can do with your site search experience. And thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for watching. Click the agenda link at the top of your screen to choose your next session.